Hi everyone, let's talk about Lisboa. So first off, I should say that this first impression video will be kind of coloured by the fact that I tend to really love Vital Lacerda games. I think everyone that I've played, to varying degrees, but I own them all. I really love them all. And Lisboa has been no different. I've been really excited about this ever since the Kickstarter. I don't know why I've got my hand on it like this, just gently hugging it. Yeah. The thing I like about this is, well, a lot of things, but one big thing I like is I've mentioned it in a few games where board games take an aspect of history or something that I know nothing about and kind of bring it to life in the form of a game. And everything that happened in Lisboa in the 1700s, the whole game is tied to that. Everything you do in the game is very tightly tied to the disasters that happened in Lisboa. They had an earthquake which caused a tsunami, and there were also days of fires at the same time. Then it completely destroyed the city, and then they rebuilt it, mostly using rubble from the destroyed city. And they had certain streets that had certain types of shops on. It's all really fascinating, and it's all, well, the building blocks for that historic event are all in the rulebook here. Every time it tells you, a new concept, it tells you why it's like this, how it's tied to the real events there. Even some of the graphic design is, well, all the graphic design is for a reason, but there are points that, like the part of your player board where you put the cubes on, it's like, this is why it looks like this. This is the kind of building material they used and put the rubble in and all this. It's just fantastically tied to the thing that it's based on, and it's amazing for that. And that I imagine will make it. It might make it easier to teach. I say easier, it's not going to be an easy thing to explain. I don't think that any of his games are to particularly, because they're all kind of, I feel like I've said this like a broken record, that they're all very complex things, but kind of wrapped up in deceptively simple bundles. They tend to be kind of like, the Ouroboros loops. It's like the game is eating itself at the same time. Every action is tied to another action, and everything that you set off will chain all of these combinations that will affect all sorts of aspects of the game that you have to kind of plan ahead for. And so the advantage of that is that it makes for fantastically interesting and dynamic games. But one problem that can come from it is that where do you start in this loop to explain it? You just have to kind of get in there. And once you have, learned all of the actions, for example, in Lisboa, or you've seen a couple of rounds of it, you've played through a couple of rounds of it, it really makes sense. The solo variant is a nice way to learn the game as well, because it's, I'll just mention the solo variant for a little bit. It's a lot more similar to the Gallerist solo variant than, say, Vinhos is, because in the Gallerist it was even more simple. You just moved the Lacerda piece forward. He left behind assistance to get in your way, and that was a timer for the game, and he did get in the way on the international markets as well, but generally didn't really do much. Here he does do particular things depending on where he is going to be taking his actions, but again, he's very predictable. He is going to go from space to space, and his helper is going to go from space to space, so you can predict that 3 turns from now he is going to go there and do this and this. He's going to build a shop and put some people out. You don't necessarily know exactly where he's going to put the shop yet. That might change if he puts out a public building, or you do, or different things change on the board between now and then, but you know that in X turns time he is going to do this action because his helper is going to be there and his courtier is going to be there. And I really like that. I know that some people much prefer the Vinhos style of solo, where you drew from a deck and that determined the space that he went to, so it's a bit more random and it's more like simulating an actual player. But I really like just the fact that you can predict Lacerda in Lisboa and the Gallerist means that if you play well, you can often use what they're doing to your advantage if you can time everything right. And so I really like the solo variant in this, and I think the Gallerist is still the most for solo, but yeah, this is right up there with it. So anyway, off the subject of solo, I think this is probably the most thematically tied of any of his games. Like, not to say that the others aren't. The others, you're doing actions, in the Gallerist, all of your things tie to the art world and buying art and discovering artists and everything. Everything, makes sense within the theme, and what you're doing makes sense. But here, it's just ramped up, maybe because it's got the historic factor, maybe because there is so much context provided in the rules, or maybe it's just the look of the game, because we've always got to mention this in especially the Eagle Gryphon Vital Lacerda games. They have these insanely lavish productions that, the box size is huge, which isn't great if you have tight space like I have, but it's absolutely worth it because these things are just fantastic. The artwork is, and the graphic design is Ian O'Toole. He has done, the other ones, the Vinos Deluxe Edition, and why can't I remember it? The Gallerist, I've said it already. Oh, and Nemo's War he did recently, and tons of other games I'm sure he works on. He does amazing work. It's just beautiful, and such different styles as well, but manages to still, in this, I have seen a bit of criticism, even Rach, who I play most of my games with, my girlfriend, saying it's very, very blue, and it is, especially when I was filming it on top of a blue tablecloth. But there's thematic context for that in that. I can't quite remember what it is, so I don't want to just guess, but it is based on the kind of tile work that they had at the time that this is set in. So it's all there for a reason. So yeah, for me, this is another fantastic Vital Lacerda game. I love the card play, as he tends to, I mentioned in the playthrough, he tends to tell people that this game is just play a card, draw a card, which very technically it is. I love the decisions that just come from that. So that just that simple thing of, do I place my card in my portfolio to give me an immediate benefit and hopefully give me something that I can use later on, whether it's boost the influence that will help me when I trigger the influence, or something on the bottom that will help me, usually money-wise, or do I play it to the Royal Court because I'll get to do more things or more powerful things, certainly, if I go to the Royal Court and actually visit someone and spend some influence, but then I am, foregoing whatever is on that card, just to go and visit them. That's always a tough decision, and that ties into the kind of actions that you take. Trading with the nobles is great, but you're going to run out of those goods soon enough, and to be able to build stores and things, you're going to have had to go and visit the Royal Court, which is going to get more and more expensive, and is simulated very well in the solo game as well. The way that it's going to get more and more expensive over time with the players in the game putting their officials out. But then you're encouraged to take the officials off because you need to put the public buildings that you want out so that your shops are going to score the most. There's just so much to love about this game. And yeah, I think it's absolutely fantastic. But as I said at the beginning, I imagined I was going to feel that way anyway. So, just disregard what I think. But do that anyway. The playthrough was right there, wasn't it? Hopefully it wasn't too long a playthrough once it's edited down, because it was massive to film. But a lot of that was thinky silence. But yeah, in terms of Vital Lacerda games in general, I think, I mentioned Gallerist. I think it's still my favourite solo. And I think Kanban, overall, I just love Kanban. The system of it, the Sandra going around and checking how you're doing and either punishing or rewarding you. There's so much I love about all of these, though. It is like picking between, amazing things. That's a good metaphor, isn't it? But yeah, it's definitely maybe it's third now, but I don't really like to rank these things. I'll do the top ones, but that's it. Anyway, I really, really love Lisboa. If you have any interest in Vital Lacerda games, or you've liked his previous ones, I think it's absolutely worth checking out. If you didn't like them, I don't know, watch the playthrough and decide for yourself. I'm not going to tell you what to think. That was Lisboa. Bye.